Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, friends. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your practice. I hope this finds you well and good health and secure in our crazy, crazy world today. I think what we're talking about today is Sangha. Suchness is Sangha, yeah. All right, Sangha is a word that's been around a very long time. And not only in Buddhism, but being as our topic is Buddhism reference material, I think it's important to flush out the, should we call them developments, transitions, the changing implementation of the word Sangha. That's the way I'll say it. Because Sangha hasn't really changed in its fundamental meaning, but its implementation has definitely changed over the 3,000-year history of Buddhism, yeah? Or 2,700 years. It depends on how you measure calendars, time, and all that. So I just rounded out to 3,000. Close enough. Suffice it to say, it's been a long time. So the first of three concepts here for Sangha. The first is friends and like-minded students of the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha for the practice of self-realization. Now, already, that's kind of an evolved definition. It's simply, Sangha is just a community of like-minded people. That's it. But then right away you have to ask, well, how do you form a community? What's a community of like-minded people? Because certainly there are like-minded people all over the world. Doesn't mean they communicate with one another, know one another, that they actually think about the same things in the same way, right? We have to go a little deeper. Within the confines, parameters, the exercise of Buddhism, right? A science of the mind, if you will. That community, which, by the way, can just be you and a friend. Two people is a community, right? Because more than one sentient mind. When two sentient minds or more focus on the same goals, the same aims, they can work off of one another, right? To test things, to question things, to learn things, to gain insights. That's the purpose of Sangha. And when Shakyamuni first started teaching, oh boy, there was a lot to open people's minds and understanding through their own experience, because Buddhism is experiential, right? This ain't no book learning. We have many books, but all of them are exemplars, stories, descriptions of an exploration of the workings of the mind. Ultimately, to experience truth, the truth, not a convenient truth, not that person's truth or that person's fundamental truth, right? Not unlike the quest of physicists, chemists, biologists, astronomers, so on and so forth. Seeking fundamental, okay, now we definitely know how this works. So that's what Sangha is driven to in Buddhism, certainly. But the how, the implementation, has changed many times over the years. right? At some point, Sangha was used simply to indicate the monastery. We need to put all these guys in a box and keep them away from female influences, because otherwise they'll have sex on the brain all the time. And we need to get them focused amongst one another to develop their mind of insight. I mean, I can't say it any more bluntly than that, but that's right. And then while they're in that environment, by the way, we can do some other things to test your brain, like try not eating for a while. Get to know your relationship of your body and your mind and how you're driven to do things without really thinking about it. Can you control it? Can you witness it? Can you really see what's going on with your mind right now? How you function, how your thoughts come into being. Can you intercede? Right? Very fundamental stuff. Stuff you might argue we should be teaching to our young children in preschool and elementary school, and critical thinking, analysis. Anyway. So, second meaning, or early versions became monastic orders for intense study, free of worldly distractions. I say it much more nicely here. In the early years of Shakyamuni's teachings, the idea of the mind and body connection was so foreign to his students that isolation was required to make the mechanisms obvious. Well, I've already talked about that, so we don't need to go into that any further. Thirdly, and this is more for you and I and our practice of Bodhisattva Nichiren's doctrine in this modern era of Mappo, right? Modern day Sangha are the Bodhisattvas of the earth. And their surrounding world, no longer cloistered or monastic, there's really no need or utility for that device anymore. In a very real sense, it is the potential of all sentient minds of earth who are the Sangha, though a great many are unaware, or Buddhism would say ignorant, right? Thus is our mission the Bodhisattvas of the earth. This was something Shakyamuni recognized in the Lotus Sutra. This is why he would not, in the ceremony in the sky, divulge this self-enlightenment teaching of the Lotus Sutra as a responsibility into the future to any of the existing excellent bodhisattvas. You can't do it. The environment in which you exist does not support this kind of thinking, this kind of mission, this largesse of propagation. Only the bodhisattvas emerging from the earth, in other words, future bodhisattva of the time of Mappo, well, guess what? That's you and I, will perceive, understand the breadth of propagation. That it's not simply talking to your friends and they'll tell two friends and they'll tell two. That's just not the speed of influence, information. We already know 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. That speed is unfathomable. But the speed of propagation in the samsaric world has been completely overtaken by technology, right? Media. How can we propagate in any way to compete with that? Well, this is my answer. We are Sanghas worldwide because of YouTube, because of the internet. And now with the ebooks on threefoldlotus.com, right? We have to use the tools of our time to speed up propagation. By the way, thank you for liking and subscribing. That is part of that mission. Right? There's no financial gain from that. There's only the algorithm making us more apparent to more people faster. And, we're slowly growing. The more of you subscribe and like the videos. If you have questions about the videos, use the comments for that. But please, just like them, just like as a marker, seeing this one. And subscribe. It's not, there's nothing selfishly to gain or ego from that. It's simply the algorithm that's being triggered. And the more we do that, the more we propagate this resource, the resources through this portal for our Sangha to grow, for more and more people to practice Nichiren's doctrine correctly without the fodder of cultural and religious biases, right? That's us. Modern day Sangha are the bodhisattvas of the earth. And as I mentioned here, really that means that every sentient mind on the planet right now, and many don't realize it, obviously, are bodhisattvas who don't know that they are. How do we reach them? We at least want to capture their curious moments. That's why we need to grow the Sangha, to help us put this information out there, yeah? Many of you, and thank you for doing this, are sharing videos because you know people who are asking questions about this stuff, or who might be in organizations that are, Right? There are organizations out there that are creating massive obstacles to correct practice. And as lamentable as that is, we can't focus on that. We have to just plunge forward. Yeah? So Sangha, a very different implementation, meaningfulness to our practice, yeah? So let's see what I wrote about it here. Strictly speaking, the idea of Sangha was first proposed in Shakyamuni's earliest teachings as a group of like-minded students of the practices of Buddhist enlightenment. For the first 42 years of Shakyamuni's teachings, this involved an intense introspection in the study of the mind and its vicissitudes, right? The way the mind is constantly shifting, influenced by the 3,000 realms. As the teachings progressed into Mahayana doctrine and personal insight, prajna, right, became more the focus and locus of the practice. Now that you have an idea how your mind works, let's focus it on a task. Perfection of wisdom. It's amazing how much sense this makes, Buddhism makes, when you start to get the Lego blocks to fit in the proper order, the proper place, yeah? Thank you, Tendai. The Sangha moved out of the monastic realm, cloistered and protected from our own frailty of influences, yeah? The samsaric influences, I should have said, into the public and self-embodied realm of the bodhisattva practice. Because now, armed with enough knowledge about how the mind works and understanding how we can interact with our own minds, like we have two minds, one of Buddha wisdom and one of samsaric interaction, now we can move out into the world, and our monastic realm becomes our mind itself. That takes some courage and some determination, though, because now you're in the midst of all the samsaric influence. Not a very competitive environment, yeah? Today, our sphere of communication, quote unquote, has moved into the realm of global internet social media. As I said before, who doesn't have a portal in their hand every time? Our phones are barely used for telecommunications anymore. who makes a phone call. It's much quicker to text and then move on to the next piece of distraction or media. That can be a positive thing, but more often than not, let's admit it, it's just a distraction. The idea of person-to-person communication has exploded and taken many forms, right? Is it really communication if you're just throwing information out there to impress others, to make your identity, samsaric identity, more and more, right? Are you more known for the effort? I don't think so. You're promoting a straw man, right? My reference to our association through the YouTube resource and the other means of dissemination for this practice are an outreach and a forum to be used by all who listen, subscribers or not, to strengthen their individual practice and its propagation. This, after all, is the original goal of the Sangha. Right? Before Siddhartha Gautama became enlightened, his observation was there must be an overarching fundamental truth that would allow people to spend more time in their full potential instead of succumbing to all of these vicissitudes and, right, sickness, old age, death, the misery, the pain, the anxiety, stress. Life is life. There's going to be obstacles, but how we deal with them, how we understand the process, there must be a way to live life in a greater sense of wholeness, a greater sense of owning the process rather than feeling buried by it. There has to be. It took him 12 years, but he found it. But it's hard to teach. Samsara is a powerful, powerful influence, yeah? Many find social community in groups that are outside the student role intended in the Sangha. You understand what I mean there? People are not solipsistic entities. Human beings, sentient minds, we're designed to communicate, to commune. Unfortunately, that samsaric attraction means that a lot of people belong to groups just to belong to groups. And they quickly forget the part of the Sangha about like-minded. And like-minded not just because we speak the same language or have the same rhetoric about Buddhism. What did you, it's like a Tupperware party. No. Like-minded in our aim, our desire, our goal, our determination, our resolve. You're hearing Nietzsche in here? Remember Shakyamuni? Cut your flesh off to take a Post-it note. It's that important. That kind of will, determination, that like-mindedness to attain, to achieve self-realization, enlightenment. That goes out the window real quick when we know we're going to do band practice and we're all Buddhists. Well, are you practicing Buddhism or are you practicing the saxophone? I'm all for you playing the saxophone. But when you get together as a Sangha, it should be about enlightenment. Are you still chanting? See, organizations like that are about membership and money. They're not about enlightenment. It pains me to say. That is fine, of course, as we are social creatures, as I say here in the book. But, as I've also said, this sense of community in Buddhism is, in the age of Mappo, meant to propagate the teachings outside of our comfortable, like-minded group and into the general public? How are we influencing one another? That's the Sangha. And as we influence one another, gain inspiration, gain insights, our life condition can then, right? That's the first step of propagation. Be it, and that will influence the environment. That will draw people's innate search to you. You won't have to go hunt them down in parking lots. I don't know what that's about. Therefore, the entire world population of sentient minds is our Sangha. How can we help? How can we assist? All people are students of life, whether or not they are aware that they are students of life. This support and facilitation of awareness is our Bodhisattva mission as the Bodhisattvas of the earth. This is what Shakyamuni offered us, and the vow that we take through the Lotus Sutra to propagate this truth. Welcome to the Sangha, yeah? That's the Sangha, folks. And I touched on something here that we'll talk about in the next video, self-manifestation. I've been asked about that term as it's in our liturgy, and we come across it a few places. And I started calling it that rather than self-realization, which we will see in translations of not just the Lotus Sutra, but in many articles and commentaries about Buddhism. But I think self-realization has become a cliche in our modern era to mean realizing I'm an architect or realizing I'm a this or that. Again, it's been diluted into samsaric terminology, and that's not what Shakyamuni was teaching, nor is it what Nichiren was pointing out. So manifestation, maybe it's just another word. Maybe it's next in line to be samsarified. But I think it's a word that begs a little different question. Realization is kind of like discovering what's already there. Manifestation is like, what are you creating? What are you making? And the answer, spoiler alert, Buddhahood, Buddha. But we'll get to that in the next video. For today, Sangha, I hope that gave you some security and importance, some realization of how critical you are individually to the mission of propagation. We are the Bodhisattvas of the earth, make no mistake about it. And so we need to get to work. And in that I say, stay resolute. Savor your practice. It is of ultimate importance, yeah? For your life, as well as everyone around you. Savor your practice. Be kind to yourself. Take care of your health. And I will see you in the next one, okay? Bye for now.